welcome you all to day 2 of the Leaders in Islamabad Business Summit, day 2. So the Leaders in Islamabad Business Summit 2024 themed Collaborating for Growth is a flagship platform of the Nutshell Conferences, and it is in its 7th edition this year. The platform itself is unique. It is one of a kind because it attracts elite leaders from around the world who come together in Islamabad to have sessions, talks, discussions, deliberations about the most pressing topics of the times. The conference is co-hosted by Unity Foods. Our platinum partner is Faisal Bank, and our strategic partners are Infrazam in Pakistan, and we thank them for their support. Since this is a hybrid conference, it is streamed live all across the world, and the live streaming links can be seen on the ticker below. Along with that, you can show us your support and appreciation by hashtagging all the content that you share on social media. The hashtags are Leaders in ISB, and the second hashtag is Collaborating for Growth. We had a fantastic start to the conference yesterday, and I would like to recap a little bit of what went on. So we had a brilliant presence from the public and private sector. They all spoke about very, very interesting topics about climate and infrastructure, the way forward for the power and energy sector, and digital innovation, transformation, and digital infrastructure management. Today, we will continue with the same pace, and we will talk about more pressing issues and those that will hopefully create better pathways for growth in the future, kind of elaborate on how we can collaborate for better things, all under one roof here at the Leaders in Islamabad Business Summit. I'd like to introduce the first panel. It is a dialogue on forging the future. I will first request the panelists to come on stage, followed by the moderators. Introducing Konstantin Makarov, Senior Executive Officer, Starlink Middle East and Africa, Strategic Advisor, Global Markets, Vantool Companies, and Perry Ellis International. Please join us on stage. Can we have a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? A distinguished figure in the realm of global business strategy and international markets, with an illustrious career spanning strategic advisory roles across various sectors, Mr. Makarov serves as the Senior Executive Officer at Starlink, overseeing operations in the dynamic regions of Middle East and Africa. Welcome. I would now like to request our second panelist, Mr. Arshid Saeed Hussain, Managing Director, Oxford University Press, to come join us on stage. Mr. Saeed has been with Oxford University Press Pakistan since 2018, with over 25 years of leadership experience in pharmaceuticals, FMCG, and life sciences. Mr. Hussain brings a wealth of expertise to this role. Our next panelist is Dr. Zishan bin Ishtiaq, Chief Executive Officer, Shifa International Hospital. Welcome on stage, sir. A distinguished healthcare leader with a rich background in healthcare management and quality assurance, Dr. Zishan leads a 500-bed JCI-accredited multi-specialty facility where he consistently raises healthcare standards and fosters a culture of excellence. And finally, our moderator for the panel, Dr. Shahid Mahmood, Chairman and CEO, Interactive Group of Companies. I'd like to welcome you on stage, sir. A visionary leader and innovator in the telecommunications, information technology, and wireless media infrastructure sectors in Pakistan, he has over 33 years of experience. Dr. Mahmood is the founder, CEO, and chairman of Interactive Group, where he focuses on utilizing systems integration and optimized connectivity to address critical societal needs in health, education, and public safety. Mr. Ali Khizr, Head of Research, Business Recorder. A prominent economist and business analyst with 2 decades of experience in economic analysis and commentary, Mr. Khizr is renowned for his expertise in managing economic research teams, leading projects, and producing insightful reports and columns. Once again, please, an applause for the panel.
I'm glad, Ali, that you are here, because I was going to miss out on, the research work that you've been doing. So the challenge is, how do we forge our future? So before I ask our panelists to give their own opinions, one, we are very short on time, so we will try and keep it as best as we can, so 10 minutes each. I will try and put a picture and a cap, because when you talk about the future, you can keep going and keep going and do interplanetary movements. But we will take it to 2100, and I would try and set the stage and then get expert opinion first from a global perspective. And Makarov is here. He has a very good understanding. And then I'll ask Ali to give a little bit of how does he think from all his research background. Then from a human resource, emergency, and all those perspectives, we have Arshad Saab. And obviously, unless and until you don't have the right health, we have Dr. Zishan. So hopefully the panel will be able to cover where we look at our future. So let me set a picture, because I believe that with hindsight knowledge, if you want to do some foresight work, you need to have some parameters. So whatever my humble research is, I'll try and share with you and then get your perspectives. So times will change. And as history has taught us, till 1900, we were 1 billion people. By 2100, we will be 11.4 billion people. Same earth, same resources, and yet we have to all juggle between these resources. The question is, the religions have been there. We've all wanted to be living peacefully, but dynamics of who has what, where are the resources, how you capture the resources, what you do, changes the geopolitical framework. In the next 76 years, because I'm capping it at 2100, the world will interestingly change from where the population is based. So the population will end up in Africa, 40%, and 42% in Asia. The world's economic barometer will also change. The Europeans would want to invest back in the Gulf and Africa and Asia, India being today recipient of investments from 162 countries, adding $1 trillion, but with its population base and its dynamics, has its own challenges. Then comes, because we will be adding 11 billion people from 1900 to 2100, in 200 years, every 10 to 12 years, we add another billion people, and the capping is at about 11.4 billion. Resources that are there are actually hampering the climatic environment, how we used our resources, how we process them to meet the needs of the humans, as the social impact has had this impact on our ecological system. Climate change then becomes very, very critical, because out of the 9 tipping points, we've already tipped 6. So we need to balance it. We all agreed in 95 with the Paris Convention, and 2030 brings that up. How do we manage our carbon footprint? How do we manage our climate? How do we manage Earth? That is another challenge. The third very serious challenge, and because Pakistan sits on the tip of the 2 challenges, one being India, the new manufacturing hub, on top being China, the new carbon footprint, now moving with the oil-producing Gulf, where the standards are really high. North America, South America will be about 10%. Europe will be 6% of the population base. And then comes the Indian Ocean, where the future game is going to be played. So you have climatic conditions, you have a population base. And when the population base I talk about further moves into Africa in a manner that they will have the youngest population there. There will be several nations who will have people above 65. And what we talk about as our youth bulge, even Pakistan will have 17% of its population above the age of 65. The challenge with Pakistan will be that we will be, in the next 76 years, addressing a completely new generation, the alpha generation. This generation is tech savvy because technology today is pushing at a pace because each human being an emitter of data. And with the algorithms, today we are on generative AI, we will be on super AI, and super AI can go to the level of machines and AI tools emulating human emotions, sentiments, and understanding. So here is a world where you will incorporate a chipset because that would be the fastest way to capture certain domains as knowledge. And there will be cyborgs, robots, and humans, the three categories. How do you differentiate between the three and how do you keep them ethically balanced? I am glad that Markov is here because the scientific knowledge, the understanding of true sciences will become very critical. Do we need these people to better manage, or these machines to better manage the Earth's resources for us, where we are planning to go explore other planets for resources, or can we manage our own Earth? And while we are doing this, the cluster of humans will be on the west coast of Africa and, the west coast of India and the east coast of Africa. Majority of the urbanized population of the world will be in this cluster. Pakistan in itself will have 120 million people living in 8 cities. If we look at Karachi today, it will be touching over 40 million people. How do you manage this urban-centric mindset? How do you manage technology, which will have from nano to all kinds? I don't want to go into that because it will take longer. Technology playing its role, population playing its role, and climate change playing its role. So these are the dynamics. And here is sitting Pakistan, which will have over 400 million people, and it will have the potential of balancing because it's sitting right in the center of the two future races. I mean, Africa, Asia, and India, driver of the new manufacturing. How do we manage ourselves? Because only when we do this foresight and we have beliefs in ourselves can we progress. So with that, I will end. And I'm very fortunate that we have a very learned colleague from the global world, understands these markets. And Markov, I would like you to start by giving a perspective on how do you look at things in the coming future.
Thank you for the introduction, and thank you, Nutshell, for organizing the event. It has been tremendous to be here and to have very interesting conversations so far. So when I was asked to be on this panel, I would like to ensure that we all understand I'm going to provide my personal opinion based from an investor and an investment context, not from an academic context and not from a political correct context. So I think it's critical that we set the stage. So the way I see the future, as you have set the stage perfectly, there are 5 key trends within what we call emerging markets, which soon to be the markets. And I think the word emerging will drop. One is digital transformation. We've heard a lot about it so far. And that it really does have to do with rapid growth in digital services. That has to do everything from e-commerce to fintech to remote work solutions. And this really is being driven by our youth. And when we say our youth, that's 30 and under. They have grown up with the internet. They have grown up with devices in their hands. And I think the disparity between those that have connectivity, that's real time and fast, and those that do not is quickly shrinking. Access to information is a thing of the past. Information is readily available. And I think from a policy perspective, we are seeing trends of investment by authorities and governments into how to ensure that information flow is managed and controlled in some aspects. Second is urbanization and infrastructure development, which is critical and I think addresses some of the points that have already been made. Emerging markets are witnessing significant urban growth that has a plus and a minus. This drives demand for improved infrastructure, which currently is not supporting that rapid growth, which provides real strain on real assets, predominantly housing, and transportation solutions. As we're talking about addressing environmental requirements as well as the movement of the people, investment in transportation will be a critical pillar to any growth and economic development in a region. Demographic shifts. Now, this is the one that I personally view as the most critical. The young population in many emerging markets present a dynamic consumer base and an exciting opportunity, but at the same time require substantial investment in education and employment opportunities. Education, not for education's sake. There has been a tremendous shift to technical education. The world only needs so many lawyers and accountants. We still need welders, we still need builders, and we need construction workers. And all those positions and those professions will change and shift as our world is changing to become more technologically savvy and more tech-focused. So a construction worker of yesterday is not the same as a construction worker of tomorrow. And unless we properly focus resources, both private sector as well as public sector resources, in ensuring that our youth is properly educated, not educated for namesake only, that can become a real challenge in the future. Environmental focus. There's been a lot of talk and focus on ESG. This is not the type of environmental focus that I'd like to talk about. We have policies currently looking at lowering our carbon footprints and I would say long-term strategical initiatives. From an investment perspective, what we're looking at is defensive hardening of infrastructure to address imminent environmental impacts. That means if you're looking at the world in the last 6 months, we've seen flooding where I currently live in Dubai, which probably most of us did not expect to ever see, which has had tremendous impact in a very modern city that did not have appropriate defensive measures to protect infrastructure, even for the what's called the black swan events that do not happen often. I think when we're looking at the future of population centers as correctly laid out, they're all coastal and are all susceptible. So one element is strategic initiatives to lower our carbon. Another element is how do we harden our existing infrastructure to withstand potential shocks. And the fifth, I like, in my world, everything I divide into 5 different categories. So a shift in global supply chain. Now, this is an immense opportunities for countries that are not China. There has been a tremendous learning point thanks to COVID. We have to find positives in even the most dire situations. And an over-reliance on a singular source has proven an epic point of failure for the world. So that diversification of supply chains for some of the clients that I personally advise and that we work with is an extremely important point where both nation states as well as large conglomerates are looking to diversify where they source from. And unless you have the previous 4 points addressed, education, capable workforce, resilient cities, and resilient industries, the countries that do not participate in improving the previous 4 will not be the beneficiaries of the 5th, and that is the expanding of the global footprint from where the world buys their products and services. I think that's sufficient to start the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. Definitely gives us a very good perspective. I would like to jump to the end first, sir, if you allow me, because I think it is relevant at this stage to have Ali's input with years of understanding and research background with Business Recorder and your other activities. You understand the macro picture of where we stand as Pakistan, as well as what are our capabilities in the corporate sector. I would like your views, and then we can go on.
Thank you for having me here in this panel, and it's a very interesting panel and a very thoughtful topic. What we are here to debate about forging the future and where do we stand in Pakistan? I mean, I don't need to tell anything. The economic conditions which everyone in this room is facing for the past couple of years is the manifestation of what kind of economic, journey we are going through, and what kind of a pain we face through the stagflation we have, a low growth and high inflation era. And the problem with this that the past 30 odd years, at least, if not more, the Pakistan macroeconomic model has been miserably failed. The boom and bust cycle have been frequented, and the boom has shrunk over the period of time while the bust is elongated. So that's exact the opposite of what we need in the world. Like, that there are boom busters in the world, but booms are like for longer period and the bust for the shorter period. That's a correction, but we have the other way around. And then when we have one of the very high growing population at this stage, and the youth is high, and 65 to 70% is below 35 years of age, and all that, and then you have a very low literacy. Literacy in terms of the people having some kind of skill sets which can be used in a productive manner for in today's world. So and then we have challenges on the health and all that, and the climate is one big area. So we have to think through in the past 30-40 years and how we need to steer through it. So we need some kind of sustainable financing in the form of investment, loans, and generation of foreign exchange revenues in the form of exporting revenues for the next years to have a sustainable growth, what the country badly needs to move away from this boom and bust cycle. So first we need to fix that issue. And before fixing that, we cannot move forward and think about enhancing the productivity, providing education, or providing the kind of platform for the youth that when in the next 30-40 years, when they become like 60-70 years, so they would have enough savings and they would steer the good for the future of the coming generation at that time. So what kind of financing we need? We've been through the IMF World Bank route, and I don't think so we should inspiring to continue in the next few decades as well. I mean, this is something is there for IMF is a lender of last resort, and its agenda is to keep you afloat in the global markets. So we need to move away from that. That doesn't mean that we don't need to go to the IMF when we need to, but we have to make ourselves this good that we don't need IMF. So what kind of financing option the country, what kind of investment the country should attract? So yesterday the finance minister was here, and I'll pick up his thought, and he said that he met Ajay Banga from the State Bank, from the World Bank, and he said that we need to work on a few things. The first thing he talked about that we need to get the financing on the climate resilience. So the climate change. So Pakistan, we all know that is a recipient of the greenhouse emission. Our own emission are much less than the kind of impact we are having in terms of the deteriorating air quality and changing temperatures, all those, and that is impacting our crop pattern. The low air quality is impacting the life in Lahore and surroundings. So we need to bring financing to change this course. So we need to change our transportation. We need to change our energy mix in a way that we're going to be more climate resilient in our lifestyle, and we need to get financing for that. Once we get financing for that, and we get adequate financing on that, so that could potentially replace the existing loans what we are getting even from the World Bank and all that on the program loan and on the project loan, where we have seen that returns are not that high, and then the private sector is running on that. So we need to work on that. So that's the first area I think from the financing side where we can solve the macro issues is this. And the other thing which the finance minister yesterday talked about was the digitization. So, I mean, we all know that the other macro problem is that our revenues are short and the governance is poor. So, address those two things is through digitization and documentation of the economy that can help you resolve the taxation issue. And overall digitization of the services and all that helps you to improve the governance. And these two factors are very important. And then I go much beyond on the digitization on those this. It's about so we have a very high proportion of youth, as I discussed earlier, and you know all that. And we do not have a great facility of education and infotainment for them. So we need to find out solutions where the penetration of the internet and the smartphones and we saw that Beyond and Mobilink are very active in this conference and generally in this. Yesterday they talked about those numbers and all that. So we need to provide some kind of a system where you can provide infotainment and you can pick up the global content over there, dub it and make it available and use AI to provide customized solution to different age groups of different demographics and all that, where some needs health, some needs education, some need other areas. So in entrepreneurship and the business ventures, so provide them some kind of a skill set, some kind of a soft skills and all that, and that would translate them to convert them to generate revenues by providing services outside Pakistan and within the Pakistan, companies focusing on export and general improve productivity. So the digitization is something very important, which is to enhance the education and to health prevention and of course on the macro side from where you can improve the governance and the documentation and here the climate resistance financing can give you that room to spend other things on the digitization. And the third thing is again, which is linked to the above two, is about the human development. And so we need to work on using those digital tools and using those the resources which we can have to develop your youth and the young population to be productive on that. So sooner we do it, better it is, because if we fail to do so the way we failed in the past 30 years, then maybe in the next 30 years you would have a big liability of people in 50 to 70, 80 years, which we think of a youth today without any skill set, and we would have the challenge to feed them. And the country may deteriorate further down the drain in terms of the macro numbers, in terms of the per capita income and all that. So we need to think about it. We need to think about changing our own way of conventional thinking, as we missed the bus of those import substitutions started in the 1960s or the kind of change India or Indonesia started in 1990s. So we need to work on what today is offering, which the many things can go beyond border, and there are many common interests where Pakistan has much better thing to offer. It's a country of 250 million. It's a country where the climate is a big issue, and globally there is a resolve on improving that. So Pakistan get into that, and the connecting digitally with the world can provide us to the best of education and health facility remotely. And then when we can mold our youth and young to move that forward, and maybe some of us be live by the time to 2050, and we'll be talking about that in the last 30 years, Pakistan has transformed the way we talk about the transformation of India. Indonesia, South Korea, China, and the people would be clapping on this that Pakistan was at the verge of collapse in 1920s and by 2020s, and by 2050 is one of the most the growing economies in the world because they adapted to the new realities. Thank you.
Thank you, Ali. I think with our first two panelists, we have the global perspective and we have a clear understanding of what we need to do. One thing that we all know is we have the youth bulge to our advantage. We will add another 150 million by 2100, and these will be the alpha generation, very tech savvy. And that sets the stage for you, Arshad, having a tremendous background and understanding of how, from emergency sector to now Oxford Press, looking at online digital training, publications, understanding on how do you reskill, teach, and pass out to the community on the knowledge out there. How would you connect the two and sort of give us the perspective of what is the potential in Pakistan?
Thank you so much. So I'm glad that the earlier two panelists have highlighted the important role of education. And so before I start talking of forging the future, I would first like to set the context into where we are today. So Pakistan has 160 million people under the age of 30. That's 64% of our population. 26 million children out of school. That's the size of the population of Australia, the entire population of Australia. 26 million out of school children. Of the 55 million in-school children at the moment, I think it's important to figure out where we are in terms of the children's understanding, what are they learning? And then we start talking about the future. We talk about the youth bulge as a huge asset to Pakistan. While it may be an asset, a young population, it's also a huge liability. These are mouths to feed, jobs to create. Our economy, as Khizr pointed out, is not growing at all. You've had negative growth. We're struggling to get out of our debt trap. And these are real challenges. So the next 75 years can be hugely transformative. It can either turn out into a disaster or it can become into a huge opportunity. The time to act is now. And I just want to give you another context into where our education system is at the moment. So, in terms of primary competencies in literacy and numeracy, there's this report called the ASR report. And they assess the learning abilities of students in public sector and in private schools in Pakistan. And what this ASR report tells us, and this came out some months ago, that a grade 5 student in a public sector school does not have the basic competency of a grade 2 student in terms of literacy and numeracy. So they can't read a sentence in English or they can't do basic division. So that's the kind of education that we are imparting today to our children. We must understand that there is a huge, huge challenge. Now, what is the way forward and how can organizations such as Oxford University Press and make a change or contribute? We need to very quickly revamp our education system. We need to embrace global best practices. We need to move away from the archaic system of rote memorization. Up till now, what's been happening is that our education system has been rewarding a child's ability to reproduce content. And our high-stakes examinations, the matriculation and intermediate, grade 10 and grade 12, उसमें क्या होता है? आपको, you are rewarded based on your ability to reproduce what is there in the textbook, not your understanding of the content, not your understanding of the curriculum. That's how our education system has developed, and that's what the kind of students we have been creating. Now, moving forward, the world is completely transformed. The education system in the world is transformed. You know, yesterday and today, people talked about artificial intelligence. You spoke about, how in the next 75 years, generative AI and much more, we're talking about robots and bots, and we need to be ready for that. And for that, we need to very quickly revamp the way we are teaching, the way we are educating our youth. And in that context, I'd like to introduce the concept of generative AI and the role that can play. So in terms of the future of education, a lot is happening. And so from the traditional classrooms, the brick and mortar structures, the world will move away from that into personalized learning, which will be AI-powered, adaptive learning, tailored to individual students' needs, abilities, and learning styles. Then virtual and augmented reality, so immersive experiences that stimulate real-world environments, making learning more engaging and interactive. Online and hybrid learning, which is flexible, accessible, blended learning models that combine online and in-person instructions. So a combination of textbooks and digital. Then we are looking at artificial intelligence-powered tutoring, which means that intelligent systems that offer real-time feedback and guidance to students. So a student can pace their learning journey as they are going along. Another very interesting concept is that of micro-learning, which is bite-sized, focused learning modules that cater to shorter attention spans and diverse learning needs. We all know that post the advent of social media, people's attention spans have reduced. Now we find it hugely challenging to sit down and read a 300-page or a 500-page book. So the way learning will transform and is transforming is that the world is moving towards micro-learning and bite-sized information. Gamification and game-based learning. Interactive, engaging, and fun learning experiences that encourage participation and motivation. Now, what's the role of the teachers going to be? You know, there's this whole debate on what will happen after AI comes in. Will the teacher become redundant? Our view there is that absolutely not. The teacher will continue to play a critical role in the student's learning journey, but from teaching hardcore content, their teaching will be based on social emotional learning for the student. The emphasis on developing essential life skills like empathy, self-awareness, and emotional intelligence. AI will never be able to replace these things. And that is what we need to train our youth towards. The other interesting concept in the future is going to be lifelong learning. You know, you no longer require degrees even today in the jobs that are taking place in large global corporations like Google and Facebook. They don't require a university degree. So it's the concept of learning will completely transform, and now we all need to become lifelong learners. Virtual and remote laboratories, so online labs and simulations that provide hands-on experiences and experimentation opportunities. You don't need to go to a school, a brick and mortar school with labs and equipment. You can do that all virtually online. And that is how, the large youth that we've got, if we provide them with the right technology tools, and which are becoming very cheap, with 4G and then 5G, with a smart device, you'd be able to learn at home, at your pace, at your time. Data-driven education. So analytics and insights that inform instruction, identify learning gaps, and optimize education strategies. So for countries like Pakistan, which are lagging behind in education, we can use data and incorporate that to leapfrog and cover the education deficits if we are able to harness the technology in the right way. And finally, inclusive and accessible education. So technology-enabled learning that reaches a broader range of students, including those with disabilities. And also the young population, the current out-of-school population who are not able to go to school because unfortunately they need to supplement the family's income. Even those children can do distance learning at their own time, at their own pace, through the use of technology. So that's how I feel that Pakistan can transform and truly use artificial intelligence and the use of data and technology to leapfrog and towards a knowledge-based economy. Thank you.
Thank you, Arshad Saab. Dr. Zishan, it's not that we've forgotten you. I kept you till the end because, like they say, a healthy body with a healthy mind can only forge the future. So you have tremendous background in running one of the most amazing hospitals, Shifa in itself, and having taken it through all the accreditations, getting it done correctly for global standards. But you also see within the hospital the kind of patient load that you have, the kind of stresses the society is going through, because that transforms or translates into the disease pattern that you witness. It is very important for us as an audience to understand where the health sector is today and how are we going to, in the future, manage this alpha generation to be not depressed, but motivated to achieve the kind of results we want it to achieve. And can the health sector support their growth?
I think the stage is set. And there are a number of things that have already been mentioned, so I'll just build up on that. First and the foremost, whenever we talk about future, there are challenges. But in every challenge, there is an opportunity. The second thing is that usually when we talk about future, so we believe that things are complex. But how can we make them simple? And I think the simplest thing is that yes, there are challenges. Yes, there are problems. Yes, there are a number of stakeholders who everyone has to play his or her role in order to work as a team so that we can achieve a common goal. But at the end of the day, it is one person that matters. And health is something that is the most important component, because if we have a healthy society, then we will be able to have good outcomes not only for the nations but overall for the world. A lot has been said about technology. A lot has been said about AI. A lot has been said about, I think, Arshad mentioned about 5G, about robotics and all that stuff. So the same thing applies to healthcare as well. But historically, healthcare leaders, healthcare professionals, they are slow to adapt to technological advancements, especially how the care is being provided. But post-COVID era, I think the world has changed and people have realized that there are different ways and means of provide healthcare to the people. Now, there is more acceptability of telemedicine. There is more acceptability of AI. People have been talking about robotics, so that is also there. With 5G coming in, remote surgeries will also, they come into play. So there are a number of things that are happening as far as the healthcare sector is concerned. But there's also another thing, that is genetic engineering. That is also something what is coming in. And with all these things, with technological advancements, there become challenges. And one of the major challenge that comes across is ethical considerations. Because when we talk about AI, when we talk about genetic engineering, there are ethical considerations that needs to be taken care of. So, for a healthcare sector, it is extremely important that we do not miss this important component of ethical considerations when we are dealing with human life. When we are dealing with important issues like reproduction, we are dealing with important issues like how to change the genetics or how to deal with the genome of an individual. So the ethical considerations is an important thing that we all need to take into consideration whenever we are talking about healthcare. And be it technological advancements, be it ethical considerations, be it how we are going to make sure that we are providing safe, efficient, effective, evidence-based, patient-centered, and timely healthcare to our individuals. This is not possible unless they are backed by tight or good policy making and rules and regulations. So for us, it is an extremely important time whereby we need to work towards how we are going to deal with our policy making, how we are going to deal with the rules and regulations at the national level. And yes, we don't have to reinvent the wheel is already there, but yes, there are certain things that are peculiar to us. How we are going to deal with that? There are issues with access to healthcare. There are issues with how we are going to provide healthcare to those individuals that are not there in the cities. Unfortunately, I want to stay positive, but we have challenges like we have one of the highest maternal mortalities in the world. Those women who come for labor, who come for delivery, unfortunately, they lose their lives. This is an easy fix that can be taken care of. Unfortunately, we have one of the highest infant mortalities in the world. So, what can we do? And those things are not quite complex. It is just like we have to deal individuals, and we have to just keep that in mind that yes, we can talk about all the economic issues that we have. Yes, we have all these challenges all around us, but at the end of the day, these are the people who matter. These are the individuals who make the societies. These are the individuals who make nations. These are the people who get things done. So we need to take care of our people. We need to make sure that today there is an opportunity that we have young population. There's an opportunity in the West. People are dealing with this challenge that they have aging population. We are fortunate to have young population. We just need to make sure that they stay healthy, that they remain healthy. And last but not the least, when I say or when we say that these are the people who get things done, healthcare is a human resource industry or a human resource intensive industry. When we say that it is a human resource intensive industry, it means that we need to have the right mix of healthcare providers that are there, and we need to plan for it. We need to plan for it that it's not only about doctors, it's about nurses, it's about other healthcare professionals, it's about healthcare managers, it's about healthcare technicians, it's about healthcare policymakers. We need to have the right mix of individuals who can get things done for us, and as a nation, as a country, we need to plan for it. That's all what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Zishan. I'm tight on time. I've already got a slip. I would have loved to get questions, but I think I would be fair. The questions can be done from the panel once we finish. But I would like one question from my side to all the five, the panelists. Where do you see Pakistan 2100? And I would like you to keep it very brief, 1 minute each, starting with you.
I would love to see Pakistan in the forefront of technological advancement and as a added value producer of products.
I see our young population as the driver for growth. So a lot of hope, and I see Pakistan as a leading economy driving change and being at the forefront.
I think much has been said, but absolutely, it's Pakistan. There are huge opportunities, especially with our younger population. Pakistan has a lot of potential, and we are strategically placed. So we believe that we have a bright future, and inshallah, Pakistan will have a healthier population that will be taken care by at all levels, and that will contribute in the international community and will stand as one of the drivers of growth in the international markets.
I see Pakistan at the cusp of the change, both politically, socially, and economically. Economically, the way the brittle are, and as I talked about the boom and bust cycle, we need to change that through reforms. And politically, I mean, people have shown the awareness, and people have certain demand in their mind. They want the prosperity, social, economic prosperity going forward. Past and were the days when there was a romanticism of becoming something big in the Islamic world, or helping the neighboring Islam, the people and all that. But right now, the youth want their own prosperity, their own social security, and they demand that. So that is a big change, and there are the tools in the world which are available for you to do so. So I see we're gonna utilize those tools in terms of imparting us the skill set, in terms of improving our health sector, in terms of improving over our infrastructure, catering to the growing global needs of being more climate resilient. And I see the people are demanding these change. The youth is demanding this change. And the powers to be in this country would eventually provide what people need, and that would become the ladder to growth.
Thank you, Ali. I would, on behalf of Nutshell, Unity Foods, and all the sponsors, this amazing August House, would like to thank the panel for considerable insight. We were very tight on time, but alhamdulillah, we've managed it in 1 hour, what best we could do. I would hand it back to you.
Thank you. Thank you, panel, for a wonderful discussion. I think what we all hear loud and clear is that there's a youth bulge. Yes, it is an asset, but we need to invest in it so that they are primed and ready to go into the future and actually contribute towards the economic growth. So thank you all. I would now like to request Asfar Ehsan, Mr. Usman Yusuf, Dr. Amjad Wahi, Chief Executive Officer, NBP Funds, to please come on stage and distribute the souvenirs. Dr. Amjad, if you could please hand over the souvenir to Mr. Konstantin Makarov. And Mr. Arshad Saeed Hussain. Dr. Zishan bin Ishtiaq. Mr. Ali Khizr. And the esteemed moderator for the panel, Dr. Shahid Mahmood. Can we have a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? A wonderfully engaging discussion. Gentlemen, if you could please come together for a group photo.